I was asked to make this video by Dr. Jonny Younger at Brisbane Women's and Children. So this is the CVI42 tips and tricks for the setup of preferences and for doing LV function semi-automatically. So let's get started. So we're going to try to do this in 4 minutes. So ready? Here we go. You log into CVI42, and yeah, this video is being recorded from sunny Manly, Sydney, Australia. It is October 19th, 9:21 in the morning. First of all, for the preferences. Okay, so preferences, we like to go through them top to bottom. So in the appearance, that's okay. I usually don't use multiple screens, but you can. Just be recognized that with multiple screens, when you move the mouse from screen to screen, that the system will follow the mouse and it might make the interface move around a little bit. For the viewer, the default setting is usually 2%. I turn this down to DICOM. That way it uses the same window levels that the tech did when they acquired the images. I usually have the mouse wheel set to do slice navigation. It defaults to zooming, but slice navigation will let you scroll through the slices. DICOM annotation, I usually turn off display additional DICOM annotation. That way it clears the windows. If you want to see the additional DICOM annotation, you just click on the left side of the window in the viewer or other modules. I'll show you that. And I turn this one here where it says use compact menu. I turn this off so I get the full menu. The other setting that I like to set is the cine playback. I turn off allow drop frames. This way when you're playing the cine, you will always see the contours flicker at systole and diastole when in the multi-view or in the regular viewer, the floating viewer. Okay, image database. Smart image cache loading sometimes can cause problems. If you have problems with crashing, turn this off. And I usually set the cache to about 1 meg. Anonymization, you can choose what to anonymize and not anonymize. I don't usually anonymize the patient's size, weight, or the series description, the sex, and the patient age. And the reason that I don't anonymize these things is so that I can get to the standard normal values, right? Batch anonymization, not important. For the reporting, it's important to have some decimal places. That way, when you're doing things like QPQS or looking at the T2 and you're trying to diagnose, the cutoff for myocarditis at 2.4, if you have no decimal places, you might end up with a QPQS of 1 or 0 or a T2 of 2 or 3. You want to be able to get those decimal places. That's important. This is also where you set up the report 42 connection. For contouring, this is usually set by your center. It's important that you are consistent with the type of contouring you do, whether you include the papillaries or don't, because there's different, and to use the appropriate set of normal values. If you measure one way and then you measure another way later on for a follow-up, you may think that the patient's condition has changed, but it probably hasn't. So really important to find out what standard at your center. For today, we're going to use rounded contours. Those are good for doing the tissue tracking and for when you're looking at the edema images so that you're not getting any blood pool when you transfer the contours from the LV function. But again, you need to check with your center and see what the standard is. Okay, so this is how I have the preferences for this one set up. Let's go into let's go into a case. So here, this was one of the cases from the CMR Australia course last week. I'm going to open it up by double-clicking. In the first module, when you open up the series overview, I like this slideshow mode. The reason I like the slideshow mode, you can toggle it so you can see all the images in the series, and you can apply filters. But the slideshow mode is great because you can space through the different series, and if you have like a stack of images, you can page back to. You can slide through them. Right? You can adjust the window levels by dragging up and down with the middle mouse button, or holding the shift key while you drag up and down. To control the speed of the cine while it's playing, drag up to slow it down. The native frame rate is in the brackets here. These modules are all on the left-hand side. When you're on a small screen like this, I usually click on this little one here to put it to the side. So I have the controls within the module at the top. I have the modules on the left. If you want to edit to a different protocol, you have to expand this, but you can set up different protocols and just show the modules and the buttons that you need. For now, I'm going to hide all this. These little window shade buttons, these doors, will let you hide, right? So then you can hide everything. I usually think that it's not too bad to keep modules on the side. Okay. If you want to open a particular series in a viewer, you can double click. Then you can do things like linear measurements and that. And this one here at the top, this lets you toggle between whether you're running, say, a 2-up or a single view, right? And all the cines match up. And you can even turn on the reference line. On the right-hand side, you get all the thumbnails. And again, there's more window shades. Any of the borders, you can click and drag. So we'll show you the floating viewer after. Now what I want to do is I want to go get a short 3D here. There we go. So you can put this in, and when you click, you can actually see where you are within the image. Now remember I said you could get those additional DICOMs back, tags. If you click on the left of the image, like here, this might not be big enough because the resolution I'm in. Here, let's do this. Yeah, there you can see that if you click on the left, it shows up for 10 seconds, and then it comes back. I'm running extremely low resolution right now, 1280 by 800, just because that's good for presentations and projectors and for YouTubes. Here's another trick. This one here, a lot of people, even the advanced users, don't know about. It's hidden. If you go back to the patient list and you pick a second case, if you hold the shift key down and double click, it'll actually keep both cases open. So you can actually, if we take a look now, we see a secondary study with the green borders around and the primary. So you can actually compare two different cases. So say you have a patient where there's been remodeling, you can actually see the difference between the images. So here we'll take, let's take these two here, and then we'll go here, and this is a different patient, but if we were doing that and that. And now remember, I also turned off the contextual menu, or turned the good menu on. If you right click, now you can go to the image and you can rotate the image so you can make things match. This one's, yeah, there you go. Obviously this isn't the same heart, so we're not comparing apples to apples, but you can actually have the cines play and synchronize them, and as you go through the different slices, you can, yeah, that's, I don't know if that's there. But you get the general idea that you can compare things. Okay. The other thing I wanted to show you how to do a short, in the viewer you can do things like linear measurements, things like that, right? So you can do comparisons. If you want to save secondary capture images, you can just drag over to the right. If you want to save, if you want to pan the image, you double click or click the arrow to switch off the active tool. These pencil boxes let you pick different tools for drawing and things like that. So if you want to do a little region of interest, you can do that. If you hold the Alt key, you can drag all the contours at once. On Windows, I think that's the Control key. Sometimes that's useful if the registration is different, say between a short axis and a late GAD image. Okay, I promised to show you how to get good contours for the short 3D, and then we're done. Okay, so what we're going to do is first we're going to back up our work. This is important. So save a workspace DICOM, saves all your contours, and it puts it in a DICOM secondary capture image. This timestamps it as well. So that means that I have my contours. So if I reset the workspace and start from scratch, that's okay because I can get everything back easily. I just either double click, and then I get my contours back, or I can choose from the workspace menu, load workspace DICOM, and then choose which one. So that's a really good workflow thing. You can actually take and send those to packs, and then if the study's cleared out a circle, you can always call back the study in the contours. Okay, short 3D. Here we go. So I'm going to click on this one to see which ones I've done contours in. Because we reset the workspace, there's no contours. So here's the tips and tricks. Number one, you're going to want to go to diastole. Usually that's the first or the last phase. We're going to use phase 1 for this. You can tell what phase you're in right here and the slice and the series if you ever get lost. What we're going to do is we're going to scroll down to the apex. You can see the line over here. And we're going to put this dot in here, but we don't move the dot, we move the image. So I'm going to, with the arrow cursor here, I'm going to move this into the blood pool, right? And then I'm going to step up through the slices. and make sure that that contour, I'm using the scroll wheel, but you can use these arrows, right? And you can see where your reference line is. You want to make sure that your target isn't in a papillary. It has to be in an area of high contrast. See, I might want to move that over just a little bit. Okay, so that looks pretty good, right? Okay, now what I'm going to do is define the LAX LV range. So I'm going to go, sorry, hang on. I want to see, okay, so I'm going to go from this slice all the way up to here. So let's just see what that looks like. So this slice, I want to include this one. That one I'd include too. So in this particular stack, I'm going to include them all. So I'm going to go 1, 2, and then to here, right? I'll just double check as I come down. Perfect. Okay, ready? Now here's where the magic happens. I'm going to, and what you've done by that is you basically masked out which slices not to do a contour in, right? Usually if there's no blood pool, you don't include the apex. Okay, ready? Here's the magic. Oh, and I'm gonna bring up this little 4D viewer just so we can see when it comes up what it looks like. So ready? 1, 2, 3, click. And now let's go through the stack. Usually you have to help it in the base. What I usually do for this is I use this floating viewer. So you can actually have the cine playing, and I usually tear this off. These floating viewers tear off, so you can make them bigger. And the other thing that you can do here is you can actually drag these handles so you can make the image, you can actually hide things or move things as you need them. I like to see more image, so I'm going to hide those for now. So you can see here, if I go through the different slices, it tracks. And because here, I'm going to slow it down. And it actually shows. So I can see here that it needs help at the base. But otherwise, the other ones look pretty good. Right. So at the base here, I'm going to do correction. I'm going to either hold the letter C down and do a point click. Right. Or just draw. Or cut across here. For the endocardial, I'm going to hold the letter P down and just push this out. These are the shortcut keys. There's C for point click, P for push, D for drag. If I look here, I can see I don't want to include this in my blood pool, so I'm going to pick this one right here, and I'm just going to drag across like that. And that's, here, maybe I'll do a little bit more. That's going to choose not to include that in the blood pool. So then I get my mass, right? Okay. Yeah, I usually check the apex too. So the apex might need a little bit of help. So here, we'll just bring that in like that. And like that. And maybe we'll just tune that up a little bit, right? Again, it's like, if you do rough cuts, and then you click this, it'll smooth it out, or Control L or Command L does rounding, and Control S or Command S does smoothing. Okay, so now we've done our diastole. Now we're going to go find our systole. So go mid-ventricular. We're going to say that this one is going to be our systole. We're going to scroll down to the apex again, double click so that we don't have a tool selected. Try to put the dot in the middle. The dot doesn't update till you let go of the mouse. I think that's okay. So we can note that that's the second slice. We're going to come up. We're not in any of the papillaries, so that's good. This one here, come here. Yeah, we're going to include this slice, but we're not going to include this slice. So we're going to click and define this as 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to run the contour detection propagation. I do the endo and the epicardial contour in both phases because then I can just do a sanity check to see if my myomass is the same. If it's not close, then I've not included enough slices. Okay. At this point, so here, let's see what we have. We have a myomass 112 and 103. So systole is saying that it doesn't have enough. So where we have systole, we probably, well, I don't think we're going to keep that image. So Command Delete to take that one out. Let's check this one. That's okay. So yeah, 112 and 103. So we'd want to check because we're out by about 10%. Here, this one actually is smaller. And so we can do some corrections there. Maybe a little bit of smoothing. Yeah, so maybe we need to push this out a little bit. push that out a little bit and round it. Yeah, see, we're not getting quite enough in here. And round that out a bit. That's okay. Yeah, now let's check the other side. Maybe we have an erroneous contour somewhere. Another way you can check this is if you hit the space bar. You can check and see. But in this case, we're gonna accept it the way it is. But anyways, that gives you a rough idea. I mean, if you want to go more accurate, you can go more accurate. If I mark the anterior and and then I click on the polar map, now I can get my AHA segmentation describing the wall motion and wall thickness. If I want to be more accurate, I can do the inferior as well. And I know this changes through different slices, so usually the rule of thumb is 2/3 up from the apex or 1/3 down from the base, and that gives you a nice little representation. So if you're happy with the results, then you click plus to add to the report. Then in your report, you either see a report like this, which you can save as DICOM, or if you have report 42, you can see the results in here. The report 42 will actually show you your index values, right? So you can see that, you know, where we are with this. You can also, if this was an infarct case, you can actually say things like there's scar over here. I don't think I have flash turned on, so I might not have that right now, but you can describe the wall motion, and you can describe the segmental tissue characterization, or use from any of the canned text, and then you'll get your results in here. So anyways, yeah, and then I mean, if you want to see a sample report, let's go find CVI report. Then we can take a look at what a sample report looks like. So that when you export the report, you can send it to PACS once you've generated a final report or a preliminary report. And this is what your report will look like. It'll have the patient information, it'll have the index values, and if you have any key images selected, it'll show you your images too. This was from an infarct case. That's it. I hope that's short or enough or long enough for now. I'll do another one on tissue characterization and one on flow when I get a chance. I gotta head out to meetings now. But this one is for Jonny Younger at Brisbane Women Children's. Big shout out to all the folks that came out to the CMR Australia event. Really appreciate it. Thanks and God bless.